Hello, everyone. Good morning to some, good afternoon to others. My name is Caitlin Kerrigan, and I'm an account manager here at Laserfiche. And today I'll be presenting on the introduction to Laserfiche Forms. At this point, I hope you all can see an orange background with this title slide. If you cannot, please type in the Q&A box that you're unable to see that. I have muted everyone. That way, throughout this presentation, we won't hear any feedback or side noise from anyone else's line. So again, with that said, if you have any questions throughout today's presentation, please feel free to type those into that Q&A box. Hopefully, I'll be able to get to them in the next hour. If not, either myself or someone else from the Laserfiche team will follow up with you directly. So thank you. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, I'm an account manager here at Laserfiche, meaning that on a daily basis, I'm talking to prospects, Laserfiche end users, our solutions providers, and a lot of those phone conversations are focusing on our product and their functionality. So today, I will be giving you an overview of what I think is one of our simplest and cleanest products, and also one of my favorites, and that's Laserfiche Forms. Now, what will we be covering today? So today's class will be Laserfiche Forms in a nutshell. I'm going to be giving you that broad or general overview of the Laserfiche Forms module. And I use the word module because this is an add-on. So if you already have the Laserfiche core system, then you would buy Laserfiche Forms as an additional add-on to that system. If you don't have Laserfiche at all, you would first buy the core system and then get Laserfiche Forms. So we already went through the introduction and who I am. I want to spend some time talking about why electronic forms. Why did Laserfiche take the time to develop this product? Then I'm going to stop talking in the abstract and actually go into the look and feel of that software demonstration. We'll talk about the benefits of that demonstration and what Laserfiche Forms can do for your organization. I also want to talk to you about one of my favorite use cases and how someone in the real world is using Laserfiche Forms today. Talk a little bit about those product requirements and then where to go next, what to do after this webinar. So Laserfiche Forms. Why did Laserfiche want to spend the time investing in developing this product? Well, this is something that came out of talking to our end user community. We really thrive off of their feedback. And something that came up was that document management was no longer this linear process where you're just taking your documents and turning them into digital and then searching and retrieving. Your information had an entire life cycle. And what was happening before, without collecting that information electronically, it was coming in unstructured. So the best way to handle this and to really nurture that entire life cycle of your documents and information is to make it electronic at the point of capture. What this does is allow that information to be structured and then routed and used in the most efficient manner. That way you can actually leverage what you're collecting versus having to deal with how to manage it. What Laserfiche Forms does is allows you to promote that flexibility and adaptability that paper really limits you with. So there's that frustration that you have with paper. You know, someone submits a paper form and there's no way to ensure that all the fields are completed, that the information that they're putting on that paper is correct or if it's in the right format, or just simply that the handwriting isn't legible. Or you're sitting at your desk working on that paper form and all of a sudden it has coffee stains on it. And there's no way to keep that paper information 100% secure. So you have a lot of limitations when it comes to working with paper documents. So with all of these functions in mind, our Laserfiche developers set out to create a product that not only resolved these issues, but made them completely irrelevant. Sorry about that. So when Laserfiche developers went out to create this product, it was really important for them to have a user-friendly application. So user-friendly that someone who does not have any IT involvement at all can pick up this application and start building and using forms. And so a great story, or how we like to illustrate that, how we did this, was after our developers worked on this for a while, we actually, packaged up Laserfiche Forms and gave it to someone in our HR department and said, here you go, take this and build a form. So here at Laserfiche, we're lucky enough to get lunch every day, and sometimes we'll have a special lunch where we need to fill out what our preferences are. So we had the HR person take the product and actually build a form so we could say what we would like for lunch that day and send it out to the entire company. So they're able to use this product without any involvement from IT, which really does take off the weight and from IT and giving them very low overhead on this product. It's also very process-driven. So it took that information and it was automatically routed to the right individuals. So you could take that information and use it in real time versus having to wait through a process of someone looking at a form and then manually key it into the computer. Also, it's promoting accuracy, efficiency, and security. So accuracy, because we can put restraints on those fields. We can make it so when you're entering a phone number, it needs to be 10 digits. If it's not going to accept that on the form. Or if you're entering an email address, that has to have that @ symbol in the .com or .net or .edu, which makes it so you're not collecting information that isn't accurate. So if someone did give you a wrong phone number, then you have to go and email them, telling them they gave you a wrong phone number, waiting them to get back to you via email. All of that is completely eliminated using a product like Laserfiche Forms. So like I said, I want to actually jump into a demonstration for today. While we can talk about this abstract a lot and how it's so great, I think it's better to illustrate that by just showing it to you. So excuse me while I jump out of this PowerPoint and back to my home screen. So at this point, you should be seeing a blue screen with a Run Smarter button in the middle. So first, I want to show you a process using Laserfiche Forms. After that, we're actually going to build one out right here today to show you how fast and easy it is. So the process I'm going to start with is requesting to buy some supplies. So first what I'm going to do is open up my web browser. Now Laserfiche Forms is a web application that's going to work in any major browser. So right now we're in Chrome, it could be in IE, Safari, Firefox, no limitations on that front. I'm just going to reload this form quickly. Laserfiche Forms does have a timeout feature, which is a nice security feature. So I just, before I fill this out, I want to make sure that we have a fresh form. So right now what we're looking at is a Laserfiche form. You can see, like any other electronic form you've ever filled out, we've had red asterisks. This indicates that it is a required field. I'm going to go ahead and type in my name. Our date field is read-only and it's already filled out for us. This is a feature we turned on when building the field. This makes it so no one can actually change that date, ensuring that it's accurate and secure going into our system. I can list out what I want. We'll say I need an office chair, mine recently broke. I'll also say this is time sensitive. Notice when I hit that it is time sensitive, a new field appears. That's because Laserfiche Forms are dynamic, meaning that you can keep unnecessary information hidden. I'm sure all of you have filled out those lengthy tax forms before where it says, if single, jump ahead, if married, jump ahead. So instead of having all of that information distracting the person filling it out, let's just keep it hidden. This also means you're not having someone fill out information in the wrong fields. So we'll say we need this by mid next week. Again, we're using this nice calendar functionality, so I don't have to actually type in the date, but I can pull up that calendar and select my date. And then I have to put in my reason for request, so we'll just say mine. So as an end user just submitting the form, I have all the information I needed, so I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And now we're brought to a thank you screen. Thank you, your form has been submitted. Now this form right here, or this screen right here, can be customized. So you could have a special message here. That was a very simple form that I filled out, but say someone was filling out a student application, an employee application, requesting more information. You could have a more detailed thank you page here that gives you exact directions of what's going to happen next, or if they need to submit any supplemental documents. This could also just bring you back to your home page of your website. So you have a lot of flexibility with the Laserfiche Forms product. So as the end user who needs that new chair, my role here is complete. So now that that information has been submitted, Laserfiche Forms has its own workflow built into it. So it's going to take that form and automatically route it to the individual who needs to pay attention to it. So if I check my email, we'll see that we have a new email from Forms. So our purchaser received an email saying that a new order request has been submitted by Caitlin Kerrigan on 4/29/2015, and to please use the following link to view the order request. So Laserfiche Forms workflow was able to send out notifications telling someone that they have a task that they need to attend to. It also took information from that form and put it into the email, allowing it, making it easier for the person who has to act on that form, giving them a brief description on what they're about to open up. Also, we could, if we wanted to, set up our Laserfiche workflow to say if someone had that information brought to them in an email, all they simply would have to do is reply with the term approved, and that would be finish the process. So you have, again, a lot of that flexibility to decide how can you leverage this product to best work for your organization. So we also have instructions here. Please use the following link to view the order request. I'm going to go ahead and click here to open this task in Forms. So I clicked on this link and it opened that purchase order request that I just filled out. Now, a few things to note on the screen. That I have some boxes here. So this top right-hand box is telling me our process status. So where are we within our workflow? So right now we're on the purchaser approval, and it tells us who assigned it to us on it with a date and time stamp. So giving us a lot of transparency over this entire process. If there was we don't have it right now, but we could easily type in, when setting this up, a summary of this entire workflow. And then for even more transparency, we're going to have that action history. So who started this process and where are we right now? Right now this is, it's only gone through one step, so this action history isn't too impressive, but you could imagine something that has multi-step approval, or if you need to send something back to the requester, you'd be able to see that entire thing in the action history, giving you a lot of transparency. Also, what's nice about these tools and using different reporting tools in Laserfiche is that it allows you to identify if there's any steps where there's a bottleneck. So potentially in that process, you could see that one of your steps takes a lot longer than the rest. And so someone, say an operational manager or someone who's just looking to help bring efficiencies can look at that step and see what's going on there. Why does that step take a lot longer than everything else? So not only is this form making it easier to collect information, but it's giving you a lot of oversight over the entire process. So we have our information that we filled in earlier. Notice that this is all grayed out, and that's because it's in a read-only format. So my job as the purchaser is to just look at this information and now fill out the bottom half of the form. We shouldn't have the rights to change that original request. So you can also change, turn on and off different security settings. So we can look at this request, see we need to get an office chair. And now we have the bottom of the form, a new bottom of the form added, and that's for our vendor information. So I'm going to go ahead and select what vendor I need to buy this chair from. So I'm going to select Office-Beach, and when I do that, a vendor address automatically pops up. So Forms has the ability to look at other databases or tables to pull back information that you already have in your system. We're really think it's important to leverage information that you already have, so you're not typing in data twice. We don't want you to have to repeat yourself. So by selecting Office-Beach, you should be able to pull back that vendor information you already have in another system. Now remember that this is just an example process, so while I'm showing something that's relevant to AP right now, these forms can be used in a lot of different departments, industries, processes, so this is just one example. And it can read from other systems that are besides AP as well. So we're going to put in our information that we need. Notice that when we put in our quantity, it did the calculations for us. If we were ordering more than just office chairs, we can click the Add button to add more fields to the table. We'll say we need some pens. And I can write a comment here before submitting it. And looks good to me. So please note that I did make these office chairs a bit expensive here, so our total will be over $1,000. And the reason why I did that is because we have routing instructions built in this workflow, that if any order is over $1,000, we're going to need additional approval from our manager. So it's nice that you can have those rules built into the Laserfiche workflow. Once I hit approve, it's going to bring me back to my inbox so I can see other tasks that are waiting for me. So some people might like to receive that email in the morning telling them what's waiting for them to complete that day. Other people may think that they already receive enough emails and that's not how they want to get that information. Well, you could also log into your Laserfiche Forms inbox, which you'd have a username and password, and check what your tasks are for the day. So you'll see here we have another purchaser approval task. If I click on it, it will open up to the right. And that's because Laserfiche Forms is extremely responsive. So it doesn't matter what type of device you're looking at your Forms inbox or Forms, you'll be able to work with it without any interruption. So right now, we're on a computer, but it would also look similar if we were on a tablet or mobile device. Also, we can see our history of what we've already completed. Again, we're giving that oversight into the entire work office and looking at what's being done and how long it's taking. And in case we had any drafts, that's a nice option as well in Forms. Say you're working on a longer form and you have a meeting come up, you can always save that form and come back to it later. So while I'm here in the inbox, I also want to spend some time talking about how do we create these forms and the workflow. So I'm actually going to click on our Manage tab. And when I do that, I'm actually now seeing a library of all the different forms and processes we've already built out. So you can see we have a number here, not too many. And it's also giving us a report of what's in progress and then our overall total. So at any point, and this is if you're an administrator of the forms council or if you have the security rights, you can come in here and look at what's going on with the product. I'm actually going to start a new process. So right now I'm going to start building a form. I'm going to note the time. So it is 11:20 Pacific, and I'm just noting that because you'll see that this form is going to take me no longer than 10 to 15 minutes to create, and that's how easy they are to work with. So I'm going to be creating a travel request form. So I'm just going to name it, and then hit Create Process. So the first step in creating the form will bring you to our process modeler page. Because this is more of a general overview, I'm only going to briefly talk about this page. If you're interested in learning more details about that workflow that's built into Laserfiche Forms, we'd be happy to have a conversation a little bit later. So here is where you would add in any server or user task. So if we wanted to put an email in our workflow, we would simply click and drag it into our workflow. Then clicking on the task, we'd be able to configure it. So we have a lot of options here. And this is where, and it has that easy visual interface, so you can simply just drag and drop the different tasks you need. And we can change the routing if necessary. But what I want to concentrate right now is on actually building the form. So I'm just going to leave that page. Something to know, if you are ever creating a form on the process modeler, you do want to save any workflows that you create. So right here is your form interface, where you'd actually go in and create that form or edit a form. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is change my title from this generic form title. So I'm going to change the form title to travel request. And done. So now I got to start actually adding fields to this travel request form. And just like I was just showing on the process modeler, it's all drag and drop and very visual. So I have all of my different fields over here on the left-hand side and my blank canvas on the right-hand side. So the first thing you're going to want on this travel request form is a name. Who's filling it out? So once I add it, you can see I have all of these different options for the configuration. So the first thing I want to put is name, as in the field label. I also have an option to put text above or below the field. So if I have some instructions, so I'll put that we want this filled out first and last. Also, the name field is extremely crucial. We need to know who this travel request is coming from, so this is required. We could change the width of the field if we wanted to, and actually put a character limit on it as well. So we have a lot of different options here in the basic functionality. Also, something to note here. So something like a travel request, this is more of an internal form. You probably have your employees logging in to the form to fill it out. So what you could easily turn on is putting in a default value in this field. So when they log in, it will automatically put their name into this field. So they don't have to actually type that in themselves, making it easier and accurate from the very beginning. And in that sense, because we have the form filling out that our name for us, we can make that read only. So we'll hit done there. And then we need to know what department someone is coming from when they're filling out this form. And we only have a few departments that travel, so we think we should use a drop-down menu on this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the drop-down. And what you can see is that when I select a field over on the left-hand side, it's automatically added to the end of the form that we're creating. So we'll say department. This is going to be a required field. And we need to go ahead and put our choices in here. So are they coming from sales? Or human resources, operations, or events? So those are our 4 options of who can travel within our organization. We're going to hit done there. And now we want to know, is this local travel? So we're going to go ahead and put in a checkbox button, and we're going to ask, is it local travel? This is also required. Now, local travel is very general. Someone might not know what you mean by that term. So again, we're going to want to use our instructions. So let's put some text below the field. So we'll say local travel does not include airfare, hotel, train, and our car rental. So this, by putting this simple instruction right here on the form, means that someone doesn't have to go and find that travel manager, that administrator, and ask them, what does local travel mean? And now we only have one choice here, and it's just going to either be yes, or if they don't check it, it will be no. So I'm actually going to not make this field required and hit done. So that's our basic information that we need at the top of our form. Now we want a new section on our form. We want to know what type of travel this is. So we're going to actually put a new section on our form. And the nice thing about these sections is that when you have a really long form, you can actually collapse these sections if you like. So you could work on one area, collapse it, then move down to the next one, keeping information hidden so it's not distracting you or keeping you bogged down. So we'll have the travel type there. And now we want to start adding our different fields to travel type. So again, we're going to use a drop-down menu. This is required. And what are our choices? So is this a meeting with a client? Are you meeting with a prospect? Trade show? Or training? And then, the last one, in case there is a situation where it's not one of the four we listed, we're going to leave that other field there. However, if they choose other, we're going to want to know more information. So we'll want to put a comment box in there. So when we have a comment box, we'll be using our multi-line field, which will allow someone to type in more than just the single line field that we have up here for name. So we're going to make this, and we're going to have some instructions again. What is your reasoning for traveling? We can change the field width. Right now it's a small box. We'll make it a little bigger and change it to large. We can also put height and character limits. So we appreciate brevity, so we're going to go ahead and say you can only use 250 characters in this field. And we'll hit done there. Okay, so now we want to know after we understand what type of travel, we are going to want to know about their destination. So we're going to put in another section. So the first thing we're going to need to know about is when are they leaving and when are they coming back. So what's nice is that Laserfiche has, for your convenience, built out some fields. So with date, you automatically have that calendar functionality I was showing earlier. So we'll want to know the departure date. That's required. We could change that date format. So if we didn't want it in the month, day, all 4 years, we could easily select another format. We could change the year range. So we don't need to see any of the years prior to 1915, so we're going to keep that at 0. That looks good, so we're going to keep that as done. And now we're also going to need a return date. Same thing, this is required. Change that beginning to the past so we don't have any mistakes on our forms. Again, promoting that accuracy, making sure the dates that they're putting in are current and only moving forward and not putting in past dates. We need to make sure we get these travel requests in before they actually travel. We don't want someone submitting one after the fact. So we'll hit done. And we need to know where they're going. So let's have another multi-line box. And, so if we're looking at their destination, instead of putting a multi-line box, why don't we actually ask for their address of where they're going to be. So again, what was nice is that one of those convenient fields that Laserfiche has pre-configured for you, when we pressed address, it brought up a number of fields. So that's street address, address line 2, city. So you don't have to take the time to go through all of your form and type out each of these fields. Again, making it easier for you. So we'll just change the name to destination address. We'll make this required and hit done. We'll also want to know if they need to rent a car. So in this case, we're going to put in a radio button. And a radio button just means that they can only choose yes or no. We're going to say this is required. And instead of having them in a column view, we can simply change it to side by side. We think that looks nicer on our field or on our form, so we'll say yes or no. And hit done. All right, so our form is definitely coming together here. Say if we wanted to do some editing along the way, where we thought maybe the rent, if you need to rent a car, should become before the destination address. We could easily take this field and drag it to where we want to place it on our form. So you have a lot of flexibility in editing these after the fact. Next, what we're going to add is to know about that daily itinerary. So we're going to add a collection of fields. All right, and now in our collection of fields, we want to know the date, so what day it is. And you can see when I add the collection, like I was saying earlier, it automatically wants to add to the bottom of the page, but I can simply just drag that date and put it into our collection. So we're going to leave date, this all looks good. And then we're going to need to add that multi-line field. So what are your plans for the day? And we're going to put some instructions, meetings, addresses, who will be there. So we just want the details of their travel plan. And now if you're going on a multi-day trip, you're going to need to do this for every single day. So you can easily just add, by pressing the add button when filling out this form, you can add this date and plans for the day as many times as needed. We'll see. So that looks like enough information we think we need for our travel request form. One thing that's important that we want to get at the end of this form, though, is a signature. We want the person filling it out to acknowledge that they agree to all the information that they put into this form and that it's accurate. So now that we've built out our form, we can actually preview it. So it looks pretty good. It's a little simple, white and gray. So just a note on the forms, while the name is filling in as that up there, is because I am logged into a demonstration machine. So I'm logged in as a generic user. But if I was actually logged into, say, my real computer, doing this, my name, Caitlin Kerrigan, would fill up that field, or if one of you were logging into this form, your name would fill in that field. So again, this is a form that we'd be using internally, so someone would have a username or password. However, like another example where it's an employment application, that's not a more internal form, that's going to be a more public-facing form. So you also, with this product, do have anonymous submission. So you have a lot of options on whether it's just an internal product that you're using, or you can have it publicly facing to collect information. Also here, looking over this field, or this document, we realized, well, this comments box is only supposed to be for someone who wants to select other, so that dynamic functionality that I was talking about. So there's a few edits I want to make here. I want to change it so this comments box is hiding, and I also want to change the theme of this form. So first thing I'm going to do to hide that comments box is I'm going to actually go to field rules. And this is really easy. So I just need to add a new field row. So you just read this like a sentence. So I'm going to show the comments box when any of the following is true. When travel type is other. So like I said, you would just simply read this as a sentence. So in the end, it's show comments when any of the following is true, travel type is other. So we'll save that. And we also want to change our form so it looks a bit nicer than just white and gray. So we'll go over to our themes. And you'll see out of the box we have a number of different color themes, and we can make that match our organization or put our own logo on there. So there is the opportunity to customize these forms as well. I'm just going to choose our simple Laserfiche theme form. Looks good to me. So now let's go ahead and preview this. And as you can see under travel type, that comments box is missing until I hit other, then comments appear. So a little off. So it took me about 15 minutes to actually create this form. At least in my opinion, this is a pretty good looking form and you're capturing a lot of information. So me building this out was just to show you how easy it is to take this product and run with it. One of my favorite use cases is a school district down in Texas who, once they installed Laserfiche Forms, they created over 200 different types of forms, saving their school districts about $500,000. And they have forms from whenever someone needs to, whenever a teacher wants to have a pizza party, they have to go online and fill out a form. So you can really use these in a wide variety of ways. So right now we are just in preview mode, so I could fill out all of this information and then submit it. I wouldn't be able to submit it because I am just in preview mode, but if I wasn't and this form was live, I could fill it out and then it could automatically be routed to our travel manager, for example. Also, what's nice is by submitting this travel request form, you could kick off a workflow that automatically sends the person who submitted it a form when they get back from their travel to file their expenses. So you can do a lot of cool things with the form and the workflow. Also, just something to point out before I get out of this screen is the signature button that we added at the bottom. So you do have the electronic signatures with Laserfiche Forms. And we can either type in our name, so if we're on the computer, that might be the easier option. However, if you were, say, on your tablet or your touchscreen device, you might want to draw in your name using your finger. Like I said, I'm on the computer, so it's a little bit harder to use that mouse, but this gives you that flexibility to take this product and use it out on the field. So I'm going to keep the signing name as typed, and I can always edit that. And if I wanted to, we could change our style to match something that more suits your personality or what you think your signature would look like if you were drawing it out. And so I just saw a question asked by someone, can you add attachments to forms? Yes, you can add attachments to forms. That's a very popular way people are using Laserfiche Forms is when they need to request information from outside source, or say someone's filling out an application, you might need to append a resume onto that form. You do have that option. And you can set rules too on how big of a attachment someone submits on your forms to protect you security-wise from bots or other people submitting too large of files onto your Laserfiche form. And that was simply, you can see over here in our fields, we have the file upload. So if we wanted to upload a, say if we had a confirmation for a plane ticket on this, we could do a file upload for our daily itinerary if necessary. So that's a very easy field to add. Also to mention, so these are, the nice out-of-the-box fields, but if you are someone who does have coding experience and you want to make these more personalized or customized, you do have that option. You can see up at the top we have CSS and Java scripting. So that is available if you would like to use it. And then on all of our fields, you'll see that I focused on the basic, but we also have advanced features. So again, if you want to use some coding. So these forms can stay as beginner level as you want them to and still look very unique and creative. Or if you do have that more technical experience, you can take these fields and really use your imagination and try a lot of different things with them. So that's going to sum up the actual demonstration of showing you a simple process. So I showed the filling out a form on the AP and then submitting it and having a purchaser look it over and some new forms or new fields being added to that form. And then I just showed you how easy it is to make a form in 15 minutes or edit a form by adding in new fields like the file upload. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually move back into my PowerPoint. And I also wanted to talk about another use case. So that was a travel request I just filled out. But I mentioned it a few times. You can use Laserfiche Forms for employment application. If you were to look for a job here at Laserfiche, if you logged onto our website, you would be filling out a Laserfiche form for your application. So one of our favorite use cases is worm dam packing. And so they're one of the leading cherry producers in California. So seasonally, they're hiring about 1,500 to 2,000 workers. And as you can imagine, that's a lot of paperwork associated with hiring that many people. So before instituting something like Laserfiche Forms, it was taking them weeks just to process one application. And with hiring that many people, this was a large undertaking. But now, since bringing in Laserfiche Forms, the average duration is just 2 hours because the entire process is completely paperless. At job fairs, they can bring their computers, and at that job fair, they can load up that application, whether it is in English or Spanish, and someone can sit there and go through and fill it out. And once they hit submit, the workflow is automatically routing it. It's looking at that form and seeing if the Social Security number someone filled in matches a past employee. If it does, it's going to take out all of that information from that past employee's application and fill it out in this application. It can identify if it's a new applicant and route that in the proper direction. So you can see this is a very clear use case of where it brought in a lot of efficiency into someone's environment. So I just want to cover those benefits one more time to make sure that what I talked about earlier, I fulfilled on my promise and went through all those benefits. So it is very process-driven, meaning that we're not just taking that information to collect it, but we're taking that information to use it. So as soon as you submit it into a form, it's moving along to the next person or who needs to look at it. Next, we're going to be able to, the thing I promised that you can design and modify forms without IT involvement. You saw that it only took me 15 minutes to create a travel request forms. Imagine what you could do an entire day of playing with this product. And I promise you, I don't have any coding experience. I was a history major at college, so the fact that how well I figured out this product and can use it is really a testament to how user-friendly it is. Also, you're eliminating the need to generate paper at all. So it's not just about making your office paperless in the sense of getting records, but moving forward, let's get rid of the need for paper completely. And then by creating these forms to have restrictions or to hide fields that aren't necessary or to make it so your name or dates are automatically filled out, you are promoting that accuracy, efficiency, and security. So some more housekeeping issues on who can participate and how it's licensed. So Laserfiche users, so that's anyone with a full named user license to the Laserfiche system, can create, approve, and submit forms. Like I said, this is an add-on, so you need, if you have that core system and you've got Laserfiche Forms, then you'd have the rights to create that form like I just showed you, approve a form or submit one. We also have authenticated participants. And authenticated participants are people who just work with Laserfiche Forms, but not with the overall Laserfiche software in your Laserfiche repository. So your repository, just for those who aren't familiar, is your digital filing cabinet, or that place where your information is all centralized. So you do have options for just people who maybe they only need to approve or they're just submitters, so they would be an authenticated participant for Laserfiche Forms. And then we also have that portal that I was talking about earlier, and that allows for the anonymous submission of forms. So like in the employment application, all of those people wouldn't have access to your internal IT system. So you would just embed that Laserfiche form onto your website, and anyone can come and fill it out. And then just some housekeeping. So Laserfiche Forms is a product only for people on Laserfiche Avante and Laserfiche Rio version 9.0 and later. So you do have to be on one of our more recent platforms to use the Laserfiche Forms. And finally, I'd like to point you all to some great resources that are available to you if you want to learn more about Laserfiche Forms. So the first one being our Solution Exchange. So there we have a number of articles. I would say, you know, at least 40 to 50 specifically just on how people are using Laserfiche Forms. So you can get a lot of examples there on how this product can be leveraged and in real case scenarios. And in those, in the Solution Exchange, which is really nice, is that you see a lot of screenshots of both the form itself and the workflow it's going through. So we're really, you know, an open community here, and we want to share our best practices and tips with one another. We have Laserfiche Answers. That's our great community forum. So if you ever have a question about building a form, maybe you're wondering if it can do that type of functionality, or you need a small set of code, you can always ask our Laserfiche community, and you have a number of people out there willing to answer your questions, not just about Laserfiche Forms, but any type of product. We're constantly holding webinars just like the one you're all at today. Again, thank you for joining. And these are always a great tool to learn about what's new in Laserfiche and the different products that are out there. If you're a Laserfiche customer, what's available to you is that support site and help files. We're constantly publishing different knowledge-based articles that tell you, you know, how to use that product on a more technical level. And then with those different help files and knowledge-based articles that we are publishing, one in particular, if you're looking at Laserfiche Forms, is how getting started with Laserfiche Forms white paper. And this is great for anyone who hasn't used Forms before or that you just recently purchased it. So what can you do now? Maybe if you want to learn more about Laserfiche Forms, maybe you actually want to give us one of your forms, and we'd be happy to build it out for you. So, you know, you just send us a copy of your form, and then we have a number of people here on staff who would be happy to actually go through the process of building that out with you. So if you go to our Laserfiche website, at the top you'll see a little box that says schedule a demo. Click on that button, and then a form is going to appear. Again, so you can have a take at filling out a Laserfiche form yourself. Put in some information on the message. Tell them that you attended the Laserfiche Forms webinar and you're interested in learning more about the product and potentially seeing one of our engineers here building out one of your forms for you. So with we have about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to briefly look at this Q&A box and see if I can answer any of the questions. So earlier someone asked, for forms going through a workflow, can they be accessed and edited after submitting them? So you have a couple options there. If a form is going through a workflow and someone notices that something is wrong on that information that was put on there, you could have the option to deny, and it can loop back around. So if it's going through that approval, and someone sees that information isn't correct, they could hit deny, and then that person who submitted it could get an email notifying them this information you filled out was wrong. So you do have the option to go back and edit those forms after that first submission. You usually would have some security or rights put into there, so someone can't just go in and edit the form anytime they want, but rather on the premise of the information, say, being wrong, or at least a manager level person saying it was denied and asking that person to go in and edit the form and resubmit it. And then someone was also asking, can you use a JPG of your signature to sign a form? That question off the top of my head, I am going to have to follow up with you and make sure to ask one of our engineers for response on that one. I would say yes, but I do want to get a confirmation for you. And if not, I don't have any more questions at this time to answer. I am going to just say thank you all for joining me. Like I said earlier, Forms is a really great, easy, fun product to use. I hope you saw that from the demonstration. It's easy to go through that approval process or to create a form on your own. And just to finish off, my contact information. So again, my name is Caitlin Kerrigan, an account manager here. There you'll see my phone number with extension and email address. Feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you more about this product or answer any questions that you have on Laserfiche. So thank you all very much and enjoy the rest of your day.